9 o'clock, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. Well, I should double check. Amber, are you on?
I am.
Okay. Was the meeting posted?
Yes, it was.
All right. And we do have a quorum. I see Chad, Carrie Severson, and myself are present. It looks like Dan McGuire and Dave Turk are not present.
Okay.
All right, did everyone have a chance to look at the agenda? We have a 17-point agenda.
I'll move to approve. It's Chad.
Carrie Severson seconds.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. Amber, Dave Turk is now present. Good morning. All right, so today I'm going to actually, agenda item number 4. Did everyone get a chance to look at the minutes from the July 10th meeting? And if so, I would accept a motion to approve those minutes unless there's changes that need to be made.
Carrie Severson moves.
And a
Chad will
second?
second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. All right, so like I started to say, I think we will skip down to agenda item number 13, which is Project Lifesaver Technology discussion. And we have Lee Borkowski, I think, is that how you say your last name? And she is here to talk with us about that. So I'm going to just hand it over to you. And if everyone else could mute their microphones, that would be great, other than Lee.
All right, well, thank you. And thanks for allowing me to speak to the committee today. So I'm here representing Project Lifesaver. It's for Richland County. And Project Lifesaver is a nationwide safety program with the primary mission is to provide timely response to save lives and reduce potential injury for adults and children who wander due to cognitive disorder. So the people that benefit most from Project Lifesaver are people with dementia, autism, maybe Down syndrome, mental impairments, anyone who is at risk to wander. So a brief overview of how the program works is an individual who is at risk is enrolled in the local program, and they are fitted with a small transponder, a wrist or ankle monitor that's put on by the sheriff's department, and that transponder emits a particular signal. Then the sheriff's department has 3 receivers, and should an individual go missing, their caregiver would notify the sheriff's department, and the sheriff's department would use the receivers to quickly locate the individual. It's a technology that is currently used in Iowa County, Sauk County, Crawford County, and Juneau County, along with other counties across the nation. It's a nonprofit, Project Lifesaver is, and Project Lifesaver requires a 501c3 to be the corporation, if you will, that secures the equipment. And so I have a committee of people that I put together. They include Dr. Smith from the hospital. He's a geriatric specialist, and he's the first person that had mentioned Project Lifesaver to me because my mom suffers from dementia. And I thought that's fantastic. I want to enroll her. And then I found out didn't have it. So I encouraged him to help me put together a team. We've also included Jackie Carley. She's the CEO of Schmidt Woodland Hills. We have Gina Lack, who's the dementia care specialist with the ADRC, and Angela Young, who's the DME and DMS manager at Inclusa. And so that's kind of what we have together. We have already raised some funds for this technology. We've raised $6,000 of our $10,000 goal. And the $10,000 will be used to purchase the receivers, some transponders, and training. Training is important. It's specialized training, and the committee will train up to 7 people in how to use the equipment. Not this committee, I'm sorry, Project Lifesaver actually sends trainers to do that. So the way we have this figured, we did add an additional receiver to our intended purchase. Most counties use 2. Because of our topography, getting the signal to go a long distance could be a challenge, so we thought it would be best to have 3. We will have 3 receivers, and I don't know, I lost what I'm going to tell you. We're going to have 3 receivers. So and then all of the training. Oh, I was going to tell you what it costs. It looks like that's about $8,400. And once you get the equipment and the training, your costs are pretty well covered. Other than that, it's the time that it would take to administer the program. It's my understanding that the sheriff's department would affix the transponders to the individual that's in the program, and then once a month change a battery. Now, I think I read online that there are some caregivers that are actually trained to do the actual checking of the batteries and changing. That would be on the sheriff's department to do that training or to turn that responsibility over. Once we have the $10,000 raised, we know we have more than enough to run the program fully for at least 2 years. And what we would like to do is raise the $10,000, get the equipment, get the training, and have the sheriff's department receive this equipment from us and then continue the program from there. So they would take ownership basically from day one. But our committee would stay in place to continue to fundraise if ever that's needed. I should say that transponders, for the most part, are covered by insurance. So most people that are at risk have the coverage to pay for it. An individual transponder and the cost to operate that for a year is about $350. We intend to have at least 2 transponders in the kit that would be given to the sheriff that we would be able to loan out to people who may not have insurance or have private funding to be able to come up with the money to get their own transponder. So the advantage, of course, to the sheriff's department is that it can greatly reduce search time when they get a call for somebody that has gone missing, provided they have the transponder. It'll greatly reduce search time and then greatly reduce cost. But it also should result in much more favorable outcomes to our searches when at-risk people go missing.
So does Medicare cover the transponders? Because I'm thinking that we have a lot of seniors in our area that are, just on Medicare.
It does. It does cover, yes.
So if I'm understanding this, it sounds like your group is taking care of the cost of all the initial purchase of the equipment. Mm-hmm. And then what the sheriff's department would be required to do is really provide man hours.
Correct.
As administering the program. Mm-hmm. Sheriff, are you on?
Yes, I am.
So I realize that you had just CC'd me on an email but do you want to just give us your thoughts on the program?
I would back this 100%. It's always been a problem when we try to find somebody that's gone missing, when all they would need is a bracelet on them, and we could call up dispatch, have them checked, and immediately find them. I think this is a great program that we should utilize.
And do you think it's feasible for you to be able to provide the labor that will be required to administer the program?
Yes, I've got people in the jail that I can assign to take care of this.
All right. Any comments from Carrie, Chad, or Dave?
Is that bracelet able to be removed?
It's permanently affixed, but I believe there have been instances where people cut it off.
Okay, because through my employer, I work in Vernon County, and we had a patient, I work at the hospital up there, but we had a patient that was in Crawford County that had one of those devices on them, and they were able to get it off and put it in their vehicle and then go take off from there and go into
Yeah.
places that you shouldn't have went to.
Yeah. Was that a person with a cognitive disorder though?
No, I don't think so. It was more mental health.
Right, yeah, no. It's certain, it's not a foolproof system. It's better than nothing for sure, but I can see where that could happen.
So is this got to be by a physician's order or court order to have this bracelet on? Or is
No.
this something that the person would want to have on, or their guardian? Say that, hey,
Yes.
I would like you to have this on?
Yes. Sir, and it's my understanding that a doctor can write a prescription for it. That's kind of what helps with the insurance. But a family member can also request one, and then the sheriff department would get that application and make the determination. And then I should also say, and perhaps the sheriff could communicate with us too, how this might work. The city police department is also interested. Would they be trained in addition to some county personnel if 7 people are available? So that then I would think if there's someone in the city that wanted it, the city staff could handle city people and sheriff could handle county. Does that make sense?
My thoughts, Lee, this is Jim Bindle. My thoughts, Lee, was that I would utilize the people in the jail where they have the computer all set up, ready to go. And the city officers are the ones that are going to be going to the locations where we direct them. So my thought is the county would pretty much take the burden of learning everything as well as utilizing it.
Well, okay, that's fine. The city police would then have to also come to the county and get the receivers, because you kind of have to be within a range. You would take receivers to where they were last located and then triangulate from there. And the receivers have, as I said, the reach of like 1 to 3 miles. They do have a reach of 7 miles from the air. And I had a conversation with Ed Lineweber a week or so ago, and he said there's 36, I think, planes, locally owned planes at the Tri-County Airport, and that if we get technology and training, et cetera, he will put together a list of people, pilots that you could call that would also take a receiver into the air, provided weather is good, to help in that search. But it is a matter of taking a receiver into the field. 3 receivers.
They're more than welcome.
Okay.
So I guess I'm not quite sure what action we need to take.
Well, before anything gets decided here, excuse me, I never budgeted any money for this. And I told Lee about this, and I wanted everybody on the council to understand that as well. If there's any money that is made from this, where does that money go? Say that somebody would sit there and say, okay, I want to pay for this. Would this go to the committee? Would this go to the county? Those are questions that I need answered.
So as far as budgeting, I think from your perspective, it's staff time. So I'm not quite sure how we budget for that when it's existing staff. It sounds like there isn't really any other cost involved with it. Is that correct, Lee?
That's correct.
Then we're fine.
Yeah.
I think we'll be fine then.
So then what we would need is just approval from you to continue to proceed with the project and to say that once we get the funds, the equipment, you would receive the equipment, do the training, and administer the program. And we would also, I think, like maybe a lead person that we would coordinate with to go ahead and get the training established. It probably, if you're going to use crossover personnel, probably makes sense to have somebody from the city trained, one person or two from the city, as well as some sheriff personnel. Darren Gudgeon is in support of the program. He may have someone that he would like of the 7 to have trained, but just a lead person to figure out who those people should be, because nobody on my committee would know who that should be. That would be up to the direction of the Sheriff's Department.
This is Jim Bindley. I will get with Billy Jones and we'll set up a team.
Okay.
So, other committee members, does anyone know if we need to send this on for further approval from the board, or can we enter into this agreement just as a committee? I guess I just don't know what the procedure should be here.
I would imagine that when it comes time to be accepting money and equipment and stuff like that, that'll definitely have to be a resolution for the board. Whether it's a written contract or just an agreement, the board would have to approve it. Exactly what format that should be in, I'm not sure, and maybe we need to check with Corp Counsel about that.
Okay, I can do that.
And then Project Lifesaver, they require a group to be a 501c3, and we are working right now with a couple different 501c3s to operate under their number. Then they will want a letter from the Sheriff's Department saying that they will be working with our with Project Lifesaver Richland County Committee, and they will be using the equipment, that it's their intention to accept training and use the equipment. So it's a letter of intent, if you will, and I'd be happy to provide that letter that could be put on sheriff letterhead, but I have to nail down the 501c3 first. And I thought we were going to operate under Southwest Partners, but then and they certainly are very supportive of the program as well. But there's a couple reasons for some grants that maybe we want to change to another 501c3, and we're trying to get that ironed out yet this week.
What about the Deputy Sheriff's Association? Are they 501c3?
We have a 501c3.
Not to my knowledge.
Negative.
I think the ambulance might be a 501c3. Richland County EMS Association or whatever it is.
That's a great suggestion, and I will reach out to Darren today and ask him that. The 501c3 that we thought we might work through was going to be the Richland Hospital Foundation. And it seemed to be a strong fit for them as well. But I need to speak with Jenny Moore, and I think she is on vacation this week. So I will check with the ambulance.
This seems like such a good idea. Whatever we need to do on our end, we just need to figure out what it is so we can get it done.
Great.
Yeah, so I think that we should probably have this on the agenda for next month as well, because by then you should have your 501c3 nailed down, and
Sure.
we'll have information on our end on exactly how we proceed so that we can get moving on it.
Perfect. And what's the date of your next meeting?
It would be the second Friday in September at 9 a.m., whatever
Okay.
that date is.
I will add it to my calendar. I appreciate the time. Are there any other questions?
I don't. Anyone else? Well, thank you for coming and presenting and actually doing the work to get this all put together. This seems like a really good program.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure. We'll be in touch.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
All right, so now we are going to go back to item number 5 on our agenda, which is the coroner updates. Sheriff, did you hear anything from the coroner?
I did not. Nothing to report.
Okay. All right, so then we are to the clerk of courts. Is anyone from the clerk of court's office on?
Hi, this is Cindy. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, did you guys all get my report?
Yes.
Great. Do you have any questions? Like areas that you want me to expand on?
I think mostly what I'd like to hear is just the update on how the improvements in the courtrooms are going, both the small and the large courtroom for the video and the audio system.
Sure. Neither the video or the audio are, any work being done on those, but however, the groundwork that needed to be done starting in the small courtroom is starting to get some, starting to make some headway. I've been talking with Barb and Jason and Randy, and I know that the carpet in the small courtroom should be one of the first things to happen. Barb and Jason have also ordered equipment that has to do with the wiring and stuff in the small courtroom. I disconnected and moved out all the CCAP, all the state-owned computer equipment from there a few days ago, and that was at the request of Barb, because she told me that Mike Marshall would be able to get in there fairly soon and start doing work, and they just wanted to make sure everything was out of the way. So I guess I got the impression that that should be beginning soon. I believe from Randy that as for the large courtroom and like the entrance, the lobby area between the large and small courtroom, for the carpet and stuff with that, I think he has to go back out for bid. So that process is taking longer than what we all kind of hoped, but I still think it's moving. And that's about all I know on those right now. Of course, we continue to do court by Zoom, and we will probably, have to, or will continue to do that at least until these projects are done, which then may affect some other scheduling coming up, like jury trials and such, which of course the other thing that affects them is the COVID prep and our courts getting together its formal COVID plan. Judge Sharp did convene a meeting on that on July 16th. He's not put out the final, basically, package of detailed directions that have to go to the district court. So until those have went to the district court, been approved by the district court, I've been directed by the district court administrator not to summons any jurors, even if we've got matters on the calendar that are coming up. He said, the district court has directed all judges in District 7 not to conduct any trials in a county that does not have a COVID plan in writing and approved by the district court. So he said, I'm telling the judges that, and I'm telling the clerks, do not put any summons out to any jurors until your county has its plan approved. So I guess that's the piece, I'm kind of waiting for, but it's also happening at the same time that our courtrooms are being constructed. So we have a number of reasons why we've kind of got to wait for all this stuff to get done before we can resume anything normal up there. And, there's just a lot of folks involved and a lot of things involved. But I guess I'm hopeful that it's moving.
And last time you talked a little bit about the limited phone lines you have as far as conducting all the different hearings by Zoom. Have you guys worked that out, or is it still a problem?
Well, again, I guess we don't think it's a problem. It's something we have to do. But, same token, we want you guys to be aware, because we know that then sometimes when our lines are tied up, folks trying to call our office, call other offices and, you know, state things like that we're not answering our phone or that we're not here and blah, blah, blah. And so just want to continue to make you guys aware that we're very much here. We're very much engaged all day. And just sometimes we have to do multiple court sessions, but be no different than if we have multiple courtrooms going, we'd have to close the office to take care of that if we didn't have enough people to cover 2 courtrooms and the office. So it's, you know, it's kind of the same thing. We're just, the phones are tied up, but as long as, if we have 3 people here and 2 people are clerking, there's still 1 person that's waiting on customers in person. It's just, in today's society, people get impatient when they don't get an instantaneous response. So that, you know, that's all that is, but
Are you still on
we
the
have been
old?
able to do, we've been able to serve the court with the lines that we have. It's just we know that sometimes folks get impatient and they reach out to other places with complaints. But there's not much we can do, I guess, do about that.
Stacy, are you still on the old phone system or the new phone system?
Oh, we're on the old system.
Is there any
Yeah,
discussion?
very much on the old system. We'd like to be on a new phone system.
Right, is there any discussion about that possibility, or is that not a possibility? Have you been told?
That would be a question for the MIS IT department.
All right, I can reach out to Barb and ask her. I don't know if she's probably monitoring other meetings as well. Yeah, that to me that seems like something that we should address as far as getting everyone switched over to the. And I know there's financial and logistical reasons that it's not, but at least we should start talking about upgrading the phone lines.
Yeah, and I don't know, is Clint on this meeting right now?
He is, but he's on another one as well. He's attending both. So I don't know if you could try sending
That's
him.
probably, you know, in addition to MIS, that's probably a, you know, a discussion.
Yeah, I can bring it up. I can bring it up to him separately.
Yeah, that's probably a Clint and Barb and Jason and John.
Okay. Anything
Richland,
else?
I see Richland has made a
I just
comment.
wonder, going forward, would it be more efficient and just, you know, look more appropriate on the agendas? I don't need to have specific bullets of, you know, like court record updates, judicial assignment updates, all of that stuff anymore. If you would just want to streamline how your agenda looks and list mine the same as you have for, as it does for like the register and probate and the district attorney, and just have clerk of court updates. And then I would provide my reports the same detail as I do now, you know, but they're not exactly separate. I only see, the minutes only seem just very, you know, it's not like there's any action taken on each of those line items.
Yeah, Stacey, I would say that you could just leave it as clerk of court updates, but then if there is something important and in particular that we need to talk about, that would be added as a separate bullet point.
Right. But I'm just saying it because it's, you know, been that way for quite some time. And part of the reason was initially at my request years ago, in an effort to kind of educate, first of all, my committee as to what the clerk of court office did, just
right,
to make sure that people understand, you know, the clerk of court office, we're not just taking minutes, swearing people in and shoving some papers in folders, you know, that it's much more involved work than that, and it's really like a central clearinghouse for all of the information and every dollar that gets ordered and paid through the circuit court. So part of it was to help folks kind of start to grasp that, but I think that now that's been accomplished, and so.
All right, Stacey, I think Carrie had a comment. I'm gonna let him go.
My comment was that in our little chat room that we have, Richland has made a couple comments about your guys' conversation that you were having.
Right, I see
Is that of
that.
any, is that of any help to your discussion?
You guys were breaking up. I couldn't gather what you said. Can you go again, please?
I
So-
just was talking about the chat room that we have on our WebEx meeting that Richland was commenting on there about a discussion that we were having. The importance to us, you give an
I don't know
opinion
what
on
you're,
that.
I'm just on the phone. I'm not in the,
Okay,
I'm not on your, on that discussion thing, so I don't even know what you're referring to.
So what Barb was responding, so what she said is you guys can be moved to the new phone system, but there are costs involved with switches and wiring. There's also voicemail options available if the lines are busy, but she's commented that not all offices wanted voicemail. So I think it is possible, and I think it's a discussion we can continue to have as far as moving people to the new system, and maybe having a voicemail would give people the option to leave a message, and that would help with people getting frustrated.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, Stacy?
No, thank you, guys.
All right, anyone else have any questions for Stacy before she gets back to her busy day? All right,
I'll continue to listen to the meeting
okay, sounds good.
report.
All right, so that takes us to item number 7, probate department.
Hi, this is Jenny, and I had forwarded some information to the committee just on financials. There's not really anything new that is going on in the office, except for, as most of you or all of you would probably know, the resolution is being drafted by Attorney Ben Southwick for the move from the deputy clerk position from the clerk of court's office to the probate office. So in anticipation of the full county board meeting Tuesday, Ben has sent us a draft of that, and I will review that again on Monday. We made one slight change from his original resolution draft. And other than that, the budget is under budget currently. All of the disbursements, I believe you should be able to see, most of them were to attorneys for both guardian ad litem fees for the children or adult guardianships and adversary counsel for parents. There was one case that we don't have too much. A TP case is a termination of parental rights, which means that the guardian has full power and the parents no longer have any parental rights. So every once in a while we do have those cases. And there was one psychological evaluation that was done within a CHIPS case, and that was court ordered by Judge Sharp. So if there's any questions regarding disbursements or expenses, I think we've mentioned in the past that a lot of those attorney costs will come in later in the year. So right now we are under budget. So does anyone have any questions?
I don't. I think that your budget looks good. I mean, for this time of year, it's better to be under than over, right?
It is. So with the hope of the resolution being passed later in the month, then we would be moving forward with advertising for the deputy clerk position and hopefully filling that. So just wanted you to be aware that the budget later in the year could be changing, hopefully will be changing, and then it may end up being a little bit over budget. But that money was, again, accounted for in the clerk of court's office.
Right. Yep. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So We received, so item number 8 is the district attorney update. We received an email from her saying that she's on vacation and wouldn't be attending. I'm sure all of you read it, but her one comment was, the new constitutional amendment for victims' rights is having an impact on their office. And so it sounds like she'll be coming to us potentially with requests for additional staff. So that's something we'll just have to keep in mind, and I guess we'll deal with that when it comes. So I'm going to move on to agenda item number 9, approve monthly invoices and other sheriff department reports. So that would be Clay or the sheriff or Amber.
The only one that sticks out that I want to talk to you about, Melissa, is, let me see here, number 17. And when I spoke with the individual that takes care of the tires, there was a statement that was made that when the COVID-19 came out, they also shut down the tire plants as well as the plants that were building vehicles. So right now we're having a hard time getting tires, but I explained to him, I said, listen, you need to get those tires in now if you have to. So everything that we thought would run normal is not running normal at this time. So I just want to give you an update on that part.
Okay. Did everyone find the bills that are in your iPad? I'm assuming so. Yeah, go ahead, Amber.
Last month you asked to have me notate which line items were at a negative. And the easiest way I could figure to do that in my spreadsheet is if you look under where it says description, like on number 4, computer maintenance, I bolded that wording, which means that that line item is negative. The reason the computer maintenance line item is negative is because that money got put in for the borrowing.
Right.
So then if you look down, the other ones that are bold would be at a negative currently as well. So I guess that's what I'll continue to do if that works for you.
It's fine. I mean, I don't want to create a lot of extra work. I really just wanted to make sure that we're sort of keeping track of where we're overspending, where our budget isn't quite right on, especially when we're starting to create our 2021 budget.
Sure.
So I don't want it to be overly cumbersome. So if it becomes crazy to try to do it, we could try to do something different, but this works for me if it works for you.
Yep, I'm fine with it.
And actually, I did have a question. So I was looking over the budget spreadsheets that you sent us, and I was wondering, like the overtime we have in the sheriff's department, did we get the traffic grant this year? Is any of that attributed to the traffic grant, or is this just overtime because we've been short-staffed?
Most of it is overtime because we've been short-staffed. They were doing a little bit of the traffic grant in the early spring, but then when COVID kind of hit, they suspended that. And actually this week they started up doing the traffic grant again, so we may see a little bit more spike in citations and overtime that way. But there hasn't been a lot so far for the traffic grant this year.
Okay. And there's 2 other ones that sort of caught my attention. One was the auto insurance. I mean, we're $13,600 over what we estimated our insurance would cost. I'm assuming that's just because we've had year-end incidences and things like that.
Yep, that's correct. And that was one of those line items we ended up having to cut from last year to find the $50,000 for the 911 outlay.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's got to come from somewhere, doesn't it? The other question I had was, did we lay somebody off that we have such a large overspending on the unemployment insurance?
So it goes back to previous employees. And I'm not, Tammy and the county clerk's office could give a better understanding of it. But to my understanding is, so we had an employee quit to go work for another place, and then they got laid off from that job. The unemployment can come back to us, and we get charged unemployment even though that person was employed by another employer.
Isn't that crazy? I do not understand that concept.
I don't understand it fully either, but and like I said, maybe Tammy could give a better understanding of it. But yeah, they can go back. They can go back to previous employers.
So you have no control over it and absolutely no way to predict when it might hit.
Absolutely not.
Okay, that's what I thought. But I was just.
I think Clint's got something to say.
Madam Chair, I can make a quick comment on that. Through workers' comp, through unemployment insurance, the formula is based off, I believe it's like if it's a 3-year look back, and they stagger it back on your last so many blocks of 6 months of employment in their formula. So it reaches back, I believe, 3 years to previous employers. So like Amber had said, even if they quit on our terms, then they wouldn't have been eligible for it. But if their next employer, they would have been released because of termination layoff, then yes, they can come back on us for a certain percentage of their total unemployment insurance.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay. I didn't have any other questions on the bills or the spreadsheet. Does anyone else have questions on the budget? All right. So other reports from the sheriff?
Do you want to make a motion to approve paying the invoice?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would be helpful, wouldn't it? Would someone like to make a motion to pay the bills?
This is Dave. I'll make that motion.
Carrie will second that.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the bills are paid. All right, so now we will move on to the sheriff's monthly report.
Good morning, Sheriff Bindle. I'm going to keep this brief. As you look on the sheriff's monthly report, you can see that the complaints have come down as well as the citations, but I want you to note those numbers and then watch, excuse me, for August. As we go into this, we're working the grant this week, so there's going to be an uptick of citations. Even our transports are down. Jail activity calls, we had 295 calls for service, 101 calls for EMS, and 25 calls from the Richland Center Police Department. And that's my report.
All right, thank you. I guess maybe we're going to talk about this later, but how has the COVID situation been in the jail? Have we had any positive people in the jail?
I'm hopeful. We did have one, and some employees were sent home. But as of right now, everything is back okay. Everybody's back to work.
Did we have any inmates that were positive, or was it a employee situation?
It was a person that was brought in from the jail, brought to the jail, and unfortunately was tested positive from another county.
Oh, okay.
And that's how we got the information.
So I think Deputy Porter sent me an email saying that he had implemented that people are wearing masks when they're interacting when new people come into the jail. Is that how you're trying to mitigate that?
Yes.
All right. So is there any other reports for that part that you need to talk to us about? I don't think so. So we will move on to item number 10, committee approval to hire a casual road patrol deputy.
Yes. So we received an application from Carl Fredrickson. He's a full-time police officer with Richland Center. He also works part-time for Vernon County. And he's shown interest in working casual for us as well, doing transports and covering patrol shifts.
So I assume we are looking for a motion to allow you to hire a casual deputy. If I would accept a motion in that regard.
Carrie Severson moves.
Chad will second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the hire of a casual road patrol deputy. Any other discussion?
Is this in our budget?
That's a good question. We do have, there's $10,000 in the casual transports line item. And
Yes, we do.
yeah,
I think that this would help cut off on some overtime too, cut out some overtime that we be paying.
right.
He's willing to pick up.
One of the things too, Carrie, is that the personnel that we utilize in the courtroom are not being utilized at all.
Nope, I understand now.
So you're saying you have extra money in that line item because they're not being utilized, correct?
Yes.
All right, so.
And then, has that
sorry,
been budgeted for, has it been budgeted for next year, 2021?
I'm going to say that it has the same amount in it.
All right, any further discussion? All right, then, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right, you can hire the casual road patrol deputy. All right, you're now to item number 11, sick leave used during COVID-19 quarantine for the Sheriff's Department.
Yeah, so as we've discussed already, we had a number of people that were basically forced to use their sick leave to cover an isolation period that was mandated by the county nurse. And we're looking to hopefully use the Road to Recovery Act money to reimburse the county for that sick leave and therefore give those employees back their sick leave that they were told to use.
Not sure who's typing, but can you mute your phone? So Clay, have you spoken with our county administrator about this and whether the county has already pursuing?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Yes, I've had discussion with Chief Porter in regards to this. I've asked him to consolidate the numbers for time missed as well as the additional overtime incurred as a result of the quarantines. Asking that be brought forward through LAGC to Finance and Personnel and off the County Board to ask for appropriations of the COVID. If we can just bring it to Finance and Personnel, I don't think it needs to potentially go up to County Board. Well, it would, because the funding is the one thing, but then if the funding is granted through, of which I don't see why it wouldn't be at this point, to ask for the reimbursement then for that, the benefit time used for those employees, I feel would be appropriate, because at that point, we are going to receive funds back for that lost service time. So to charge the employees for that lost service time and then to also receive recruitment by grant feels like it's in a double dipping type of a thing. Our COVID language does allow folks to go into the negative balance. So again, if reimbursements can be brought back through the routes to recovery, then to take action through finance and personnel, and then also then through county board, because that would be an exception to the policy to have those banks then refunded back that time.
So really what you need from us today is a motion to send this on to finance. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Would someone be interested in making that motion?
Chad will make that motion.
Sheriff Bindle, Melissa, I got one question.
Yes?
Some of these people have accrued a sick leave time that has put some of the people in the hole. Will they also be allowed to erase that sick leave time and restore what they had before?
Clint, did you hear that question?
I'm sorry, can you say that again, please?
Some of the people, Clint, had their vacation. They had to utilize sick leave time to cover to get paid. And during this, the people have incurred a large amount of sick leave, and some are even in the hole. Will this be a clean wash at this point? Will their sick leave time be restored?
That is what I envision with it, is the benefit time used for the quarantine, that we are able to refund those balances back.
Does that answer your question? Okay. All right, I think Chad moved. Did I have a second?
This is Dave also.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we will send that on to finance for consideration. All right, so then we are on item number 12, update the Sheriff Department's addendum regarding compensatory time.
Again, so the last Personnel and Finance Committee meeting, I believe there was a agenda item regarding increasing compensatory time for county staff from 3 days to a full week of work. What I'm asking is that the Sheriff's Department addendum be updated to coincide with that. So right now it says that they're allowed to bank up to 3 days, work days of compensatory time, and I'd like to see that increase to a full week to follow the county handbook.
Was that, I know it went through finance, did it go to the county board and be approved? I don't remember.
I don't believe it has at this point. That was just the very last Personnel and Finance. Maybe Clint can do that, but I don't believe it has went to county board yet.
It's on the agenda to discuss on Tuesday.
All right, so we would need to wait until it's been approved by the county board before we change the addendum, but certainly once it's been approved, we will need to change the addendum. But I don't think we can do it yet. Anyone else have thoughts on that?
If it was something that you wanted to go, Madam Chair Clint, again, if this is something that you'd want to have to try to reach the next county board, then this would be the next meeting to go before Finance and Personnel to change the handbook and addendum to go to county board in September for consideration. Because this, Chief, this has to do with the fact that your time structure by the addendum is kind of set a little bit differently because you're not working strictly on a 40, correct, Chief?
That is correct. Yeah, our wording's a little bit for our work week.
So can we take action today, or do we need to wait until the change has been approved by the board?
Madam Chair, I'd say that's at your discretion. You can wait to see if the county board is going to make action on it, or you could take action with language that says we would like this to go to finance and personnel pending county board approval of the changes to the handbook. Would be another option, or you can, like I said, you can wait with it until after Tuesday as well.
Well, since we meet after finance, I guess it would be better to send it to finance pending county board approval this month. That way we don't have yet another delay.
Yeah.
That's what I was
would
thinking
make
too,
that
yeah.
motion.
So Chad, you made the motion to go ahead and send this, the change, updating our addendum for compensatory time. Correct? That was Chad that made the motion? Okay,
Correct. Pending county board approval.
correct. All right. And do I have a second?
Chris Everson seconds.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we will send that on to finance for their September meeting. All right, so we already did 13. So now we are 14. We are at the radio tower project updates. I did ask that Amber put this on the agenda every month so that we can keep this on our radar and keep this moving forward. I was just looking through finance and personnel minutes a couple days ago, and I saw that this approval to actually move forward with finding someone to administer this was given a year and a half ago. So it's been a long time on our radar. So we'll turn this over to Chief Deputy.
Thank you. So at this point, we had a meeting it would have been within the last month. I had a meeting with Barb and Jason at MIS. Kind of a preliminary meeting working on an RFP. During that meeting, or just prior to that meeting, I found a document that was provided to us by Baycom, and I believe you guys should have access to that document. And it was a proposal for engineering services basically. And I wanted to bring that to your attention in case this was a route that maybe we would want to explore further as opposed to doing the RFP, or maybe in addition to the RFP. But it was the basis of it is that they're offering to do the engineering, system design, and planning for a simulcast radio system for the amount on the document is $65,000. We would then have the right to use Baycom sole source for the project as the vendor basically, and that they would basically they would eat the cost of the engineering and all that if they were allowed to be the vendor and then build the system. We also would have the right to utilize a different vendor, and that we would at that time would owe them the $65,000 for the engineering and system design.
So I remember when we got this sent to us this spring, and my reaction, and Marty Brewer was chair of this committee at that time, and my reaction was the same as his, where we really felt like we need to do an RFP and do this because of the board rules very clearly state that we should get bids. I mean, and it's likely that Baycom's bid would be the lowest, but I still think we need to do the proper procedure. Does anyone else have any thoughts on that?
Would Baycom install towers, multiple towers, or upgrade our tower system?
Actually, what I'll do right now is I have Scott Johnson from Baycom. I believe he's still on the meeting. I'll let him speak to what they can do.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, and we are fully capable of, integrating towers. We're currently doing that with Kenosha County. So we can do a complete turnkey solution on the simulcast portion of this. And a couple of things that, we've done, in comments too, with what you mentioned about getting bids. What you could utilize is recent bids that we won in both Greene County and Kenosha County within the last year as a comparison to what, our engineering proposal would be to you on the cost of a new simulcast system in lieu of doing an RFP and the additional costs that would entail by hiring a consultant. So we are capable of doing all that work and have in the past. We have recent history of doing that in both Columbia County and Pleasant Prairie, to where they did the same thing that we brought up as well with this proposal for doing the engineering.
Thank you for that. Dave, do you have any thoughts on the procedural aspect of this?
I think that's the question, is what procedure we need to follow, not any lack of confidence in Baycom's ability or capability. And if we are not 100% sure, then I think we should double check with Corp Counsel to make sure we're following the steps. I can certainly understand where there would be a lot of convenience in making it easier for us. However, there are rules that we have to follow, and the easy path is not always the one that's compatible with the rules that we were forced to live by.
I was thinking as well. Yeah, I mean, I think the proposal sounds wonderful, but I'm not sure that that we should be doing. Yeah, so I think Chief Deputy, can you follow up with, I guess, Corp Counsel and just be honest and explain the situation and then get his thoughts on this. I mean, I'm assuming that's who we need to speak to about this. I suppose also we should talk to Chair Brewer and get his thoughts, which I can do.
Yes, I can follow up with that. And I believe, and maybe it was Clint that had a conversation with Ben in regards to this, and it didn't sound like this was completely out of the line for a route to go, but Ben expressed his concerns with if Baycom did do the system design, that it be, I'm not sure if this would be the right wording, but generic enough that that another company could pick up the design and successfully build it. That it not be so specific with equipment that like only a Motorola vendor could complete the project, that maybe a Kenwood vendor or whoever else would have the capability of building a similar system, that it wasn't spec'd to a way that only a Motorola vendor could do. That was Ben's concern with it.
I've heard him express that about other projects too, that if you bring in a consultant, you can't have a consultant craft something so narrow that they were the only ones that could successfully bid on it. That winds up being a conflict of interest.
So do we want to get something formal from Ben?
Melissa?
Yes, go ahead.
Melissa, Chair Bindle.
Go ahead.
This is a question for the gentleman from Baycom. Does the Sheriff's Department lead the whole project? I can see my Chief Deputy getting tied up into this, and all of a sudden I don't have a Chief Deputy that's working for the Sheriff's Department. So my question is this a collaborative effort by different entities like emergency government, fire departments, ambulance? I'm sitting here wondering, is the Sheriff's Department the one to head this?
So
I'm sorry, but isn't it theory that that's why you hire a consultant, that they handle the coordination and administration of getting the system in place?
it is typical, even with a consultant. And just for background, we've worked on 20 plus deployments for simulcast system countywide, and typical a chief deputy still is involved, and sometimes the sheriff, sometimes the MIS or IT departments also involved. So what happens is, even with a consultant or without, there'd be bi-weekly phone calls providing updates on the status of the project, or and basic questions. There's a timeline and a list of action items that are developed by our engineering team, and either bi-weekly or weekly we have a 1 hour phone call to go over the status of those things. And then our instance, we would lead the project and get it from beginning to end to get completed. And our engineering design is really based off of where the towers should be located, what towers are available either for, the county owned or leased, to give you basically a standard of what the systems are designed for right now. And it's a standard that everyone follows, where it's 95% coverage, for a portable at the hip, for, outdoor coverage. So that's a basic standard that we follow and use in that design. So to address the concern of making it so specific, only a Motorola dealer could do it, that wouldn't be the case. The design itself would be the recommendation of the locations of the towers and the expected coverage.
I got a question, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
So I was thinking that you could go ahead and do an RFP or get a consultant in line, but in the future, to answer Sheriff Bindle's thought process with the chief deputy doing majority of the work, I envision a subcommittee created off of the law enforcement committee that would have representatives from the Fire Chiefs Association, the police department, sheriff, emergency government, all the EMS organizations, the ham radio people, get them all involved and have them sit down at the table and discuss this plan and build once the consultant comes up with a plan for us.
That actually sounds like a good idea. One question I had, Chief Deputy, did you and Clint talk at all about where the funding would come from, like even the 65,000 if we were to go with Baycom? Did you guys talk about funding for this?
We had a brief conversation. We had our budget meeting with Clint the other day, and we kind of had a brief conversation about funding and where it's going to come from this. Kind of looking, I think, potentially to, it may have to come from, that the wording is slipping me right now, but like capital improvement project type stuff. Clint can probably talk more to that than I can.
At the current moment, I have it templated in for to do specification design through our, I guess I took it from our conversation we had Clayton on bringing in someone to kind of do our, we talked about doing a request for proposal for the specification design and having that go against our short-term loaning that is, again, projected. It's not solidified. I need 3/4 votes in September to allow for that type of initiative, but that's where I would see the funding coming for the project.
And just to clarify, so a consultant in design does qualify as a capital project? I mean, I realize the project itself with the towers and everything would absolutely be, but is there any issue with it being it's basically a service that we're asking this consultant to provide, not actual equipment? Do we know that would be allowable?
To the best of my knowledge, certainly it's a specification for a capital improvement. You can't do capital projects, obviously, without being able to have the plans and engineering to go along with it.
Okay.
I can confirm in my dialogue with Carol here in the short term, but to the best of my knowledge, it is.
Okay, so what you're saying is that when we talked about that short-term borrowing, so we would have the money available to start this in November? Is that when we think we would get that money?
The short-term loan that I plan on doing would be incorporated into the 2021 budget.
So it wouldn't be available till January. So we wouldn't be starting this project till January, right? Okay.
And then, Madam Chair, that would be just for the consultant to go ahead with all this. And then eventually we're going to probably have to borrow some more money if we need to do a tower upgrade or replace several towers throughout the county.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, this is just the beginning of the cost. Chief Deputy, do you have anything else to add on that?
Just that I agree. I like Carrie's idea of creating a subcommittee to work on this. I know We were at the Fire Chiefs Association meeting this last month. Carrie was present. I get the feeling that they want to help and take an active role in this as well. And I don't feel that the burden should just be on the sheriff's department, but that it should kind of be a shared burden countywide.
You're muted, Melissa.
Sorry. Do we need to make a motion to create that so that we can begin talking with all these groups and get them on board so that we're ready to go in January when the funding would be available? Or is it too soon to do that?
I'm game for creating one now, or at least the motion for it. At least I'm not sure where it's got to go from here on to committee on committees or county board for approval.
Or if it would have to involve rules and resolutions, because if we're establishing a new subcommittee, it has to be part of the committee structure resolution. I guess Ben would have to answer that.
I'm for it.
So especially if it's got to go through multiple committees, I would say let's go ahead and make the motion to committee on committees with Ben's approval, or do you think we need to wait until we know for sure from Ben?
There's the last Rules and Resolutions Committee that we had. Part of that, part of a resolution that's going to the county board gives Rules and Resolutions the authority over the committee structure document, which is kind of the establishment, to the best of my knowledge, of additional committees and then the tasks and roles for those committees. So I think that would probably be the first step. I shouldn't say the authority over that document, but the body that entertains changes to that document. It is a county board controlled document. So I would say Rules and Resolutions would make proposals to change that structure, to add another committee, to give it the tasks and authorities that you're looking for. And then you would have to do a follow-up then with a committees on committees type of a design, or through the administrator position to then designate who's going to be on there, unless it's specified through the actual structure on which people are going to be there.
Right. So I think I would like to hear a motion that sends us to rules, but I think we do need to be pretty specific about what other entities we want involved. So Carrie, do you have a specific list that we can forward onto rules, or does anyone have specific? I mean, I know you listed a few, but was that a complete list of who should be included? Because I think we want to make sure that it's on there before we send it to rules.
Yeah, it's not like a complete list, but it's a pretty good start to a list. Another thing to think about is maybe a couple supervisors on that committee also. I'd have to sit down and think, and I'd like to talk with Darren Gudgeon on this too, because he was the one that kind of brought that into my head too. MIS would be another person to include on that committee also.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking as chair of LEJC, I would definitely like to be involved in that committee just so that I know what's going on. So
I think Melissa's point is very valid, that we want to know how you want that committee structured and what their mission's going to be and what kind of time frame you're looking at before it goes to rules to be approved.
So if we make the motion today and then clarify all of that, is that if we don't have it all at right this moment clarified and we take a week to clarify that, can it still be sent to rules? Anybody know? I would say let's go ahead and do that. I mean, I would say let's go ahead and make the motion and get the process moving, and we'll clarify it. I guess I'm not even sure, would Chief Deputy be the one responsible for sending that on to rules, or do I do that?
I think you would do that.
Okay. So if we make that motion, and then I will talk with Carrie and anyone else who has input about who should be included in that committee, and then I will send it on to rules. Is that
Yeah, I think rules should be hashing that out too, like, because obviously there's got to be some type of a budget concern with that also. So they're going to have to talk.
Rules is going to want to know what we recommend. So if we don't have an answer for that, there wouldn't be anything for them to approve yet.
Right. I mean, I think we will make the recommendation and then they will tweak it, right?
Potentially they could, but you know, their expertise is not in this project that we're putting together. If we want to have specific people for specific purpose, we should define that for them.
Right. I agree. I agree.
Well, three of us on law enforcement committee are also on rules, so.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, is it acceptable that make the motion that we would like to create a subcommittee or an ad hoc committee for the study, of the radio tower system, and that would include other entities, with the entities to be clarified before it gets to rules? Is anyone comfortable making that motion?
This is Carrie. I'll move for that.
This is Chad. I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion?
I think we want to clarify just who the members are going to be, but then what the function of that committee will be, what the expectation will be for, their output, their frequency of meetings, all that stuff is part of creating a committee. So.
Okay. Dave, are you comfortable with this, or do you think that we should do it a different way?
I think we can do it this way. I think we should just be prepared that it may bounce back to us if we don't have enough answers to questions yet.
Okay. Okay. Well, like Carrie said, there are 3 of us on rules that are also on this committee. So that will help because we'll be right there.
Yep. And council may have questions too, as he's looking to fill in all the blanks to, match the committee description to what the other descriptions look like. So.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of assume it may not pass the first round, which is another reason why I'd like to get it sent there sooner rather than later, so that we have a couple months to get it all worked out, so that when we get the money to do this, we're ready to go and there's no more delays. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. I will get that sent on to rules. All right, so now we are at the AED project update.
Well, I was hoping to have more to update on. So I have your bid that you had gotten, Melissa, and I was hoping to have an additional bid from Darren from a different vendor. I believe it was Physio Control, and I don't have that at this point. So I just wanted to see if we could comparison. At this time, I believe it was Zoll who you had gotten the quote from. Zoll is not a plug and play to any of our EMS services heart monitors currently. And from what I can find, that there's not an adapter so they could direct plug and play, which isn't the end of the world. It would just mean that the EMS service would have to rip our pads off and apply new pads so they could run their heart monitor. But it was a consideration I wanted to make, is if we could just have a defib where the EMS service could unplug our unit and plug it directly into their unit, that would be an option. So I'm not saying no to the Zoll bid, but I wanted to explore another vendor and a different manufacturer in case we could do that. And I just see there's a comment from Tyler Barr, who's in the meeting, that Zoll would work with Muscatine EMS. So there is one provider then that we would be compatible with.
Yeah, I know when I was looking for bids for that grant, that topic definitely came up, but we ended up going with Zoll because they had the best prices and we could get as many, I was trying to get one for every squad car within the funding amount. So, but certainly getting more bids is good. And if we can find ones that's compatible, that would be great. So, and I think we should be looking for other bids if we can.
I know that Richland County EMS is looking at a 3-year period where they're going to be upgrading their heart monitor defibrillators. And I don't know if they're going to go to Philips, because I think Philips is going to stop making their heart monitor defibrillators. So I think they're in the process of looking at a different brand. Just another brand off the top of my head would be LifePak. Could we call LifePak and see if they could give us a bid or quote? Would be.
I think that'd be a great idea. Can you do that? Or do you want Chief Deputy to do that?
See, Jason just commented on here. He's thinking that the ambulance service would go to that physio control life pack 15s. That's what we have up in our emergency room. Well, I know Tri-State runs with them too, I think. Reedsburg. It's Reedsburg.
So can you get that quote, or should Chief Deputy get that quote?
I don't know.
Do you have contact information for them at all? Or, okay, well,
I think Darren would be your best resource.
okay, and he said he was going to talk to Darren.
Or some other EMS chief in the area could give us some advice too, maybe.
Yes, Darren had a contact with some vendor for physio control that he was going to check with and see what they could do for pricing for the same amount of AEDs, and we're going to look into that. I haven't heard back from him yet.
All right, that sounds good. Well, I'm glad that we're moving forward with that, because the money's in the Broward funds, so we should definitely use it for what it was intended. Anything else on the AED project then? All right, then let's move to item number 16, mapping, radio system, and squad updates.
As far as squad updates, still waiting on the new squads to arrive at full box. They should be here yet this month, is my understanding. GenCom has everything ordered to build those cars. So I think we're really just waiting on the cars, and maybe the computers themselves at this point may still be on the way. But we should be ready to go once the cars are here or close to it.
And we were able to stay within the amount that we had on the resolution as far as the cost, the total cost for all the cars?
It is appearing, yes.
That's good. No surprises so far. I have to say, I was really surprised when you sent us the mileage chart. How many of our cars are over 100,000 miles? It's amazing to me how fast we put on miles. We have all these new cars, and there's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of them are well over 100,000. Well, a lot over 100,000. So, my point being that this is why we need new cars all the time.
Yes,
Are we still having deputies run twice a day? You know, like one shift runs like squad 6 and during the daytime, and then in the afternoon squad 6 gets run by the nighttime deputy, or still doing that? Or does each person have their own individual car? That's what I thought they were at, right?
Yeah, so we still have shared cars. We have more cars now that are assigned to a single deputy than we ever had. But we still do have a few cars that are shared, and you know, that's kind of how we get vehicles with that high of mileage is you have so many shared cars that are running, you know, 2 shifts a day, and at one point we were probably running some 3 shifts a day. But we're getting to that point now where we're once these new cars come, we'll be able to have everybody have their own car. The mileage climb as fast as it has been. So you should see that level out a little bit, and we'll get a little more longevity out of our fleet then.
Right. I mean, I think that was our whole point in wanting to get cars for every deputy. I think this chart is really helpful. So getting complaints from other board members about the squad, you know, how many squad cars the sheriff's department's been getting. I can just give them this and say, well, look at the numbers. This is what it is. They you know, the miles pile on. Anything else for mapping and radio system?
I don't have anything for those items.
Looks like we're at item 17, adjournment then.
Could I speak real quick, Jim Bindle?
Sure.
Reference the squad miles chart. The vision that we have going for the sheriff's department is that everyone has a take-home squad. And what happens here is I asked for 3 squads for the year 2021. I put in the budget. We're going to hold a couple of these cars that have this high mileage over, and then hopefully get through 2021 with those high mileage cars. So when I put down the 3, you can see that we have 8 that are over 100,000 miles. We've got 4 that are coming in brand new. 4 of those cars are going to be added onto this list. They're not going to replace what is on this list. So I want everybody to understand that the reason that I'm asking for 3 squads is because of the high mileage on 3 of the squads that we need to replace in 2021. So I get it that the budget is, and Clint will agree with me that everybody's trying to find a way to save money. And if we go with 2 squads, it's going to create that pickle again where we're all of a sudden, instead of having just 3 squads, I'm going to need 4 squads for the year 2022. So as a projection, Clint asked us to put out the numbers for the squads that we're going to need. If I remember right, the number was a projection out to 2025. But right now, as I look at the numbers right now, 3 squads is what I need for 2021. So I get it that they're going to come in, they're going to say, oh my gosh, you know, we need to save money here somewhere. They're going to take one of my squads. If they do that, I want it known that I will have to ask for 4 squads come 2022.
All right. Yeah. I mean, the only upside, I guess, to the cars is that they can be added to the short-term borrowing. Did Clint talk at all about the potential of them being placed on the short-term borrowing plan?
I believe he did. I'll let him talk.
I'm currently tracking right now, as Chief said, or as the Sheriff said, if we're going to try to pursue with the tower project this year yet for specification design, then my recommendation to the capital improvement, capital investment then will be to reduce to 2 squads for 2021. That still comes to the tune of approximately just under 130,000, and designating then some monies out of the short-term loaning then for a tower radio specification design.
All right. Well, we'll have to continue to. So, Clint, just to clarify, you're saying that we should only do 2 squads in 2021 with the understanding that we'll probably then need 4 squads in 2022?
I'm saying in order to try to fit in like tower projects on top of other types of things, my proposal at the moment would be to reduce down to 2 squads for 2021.
Okay.
Do I think that's a great idea? I do not, Madam Chair, but we're, you know, obviously right. The budget situation is well known where we're kind of trying to operate on the least bad ideas versus the best ideas, unfortunately. But
right.
I think if
we're walking a hard place.
But we're at least getting some projection here to know what the future kind of looks like in between getting some priorities established through some strategic planning, and then having the ability for supervisors to kind of look at the capital outlays. I think we're going to be able to begin prioritizing more across the county too. So we're going to have the projection of knowing what that fleet management looks like on a document, and it's going to become more common knowledge, if that makes sense.
Okay, that actually sounds good because, yeah, for whatever reason, squad cars are always some sort of hot button issue that if we had it laid out in a plan, then it wouldn't need to be such an issue. All right, does anyone else have any comments? All right, so I think we are at adjournment. Would anyone like to move to adjourn?
Barry Severson will move for adjournment.
Chad will second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.